Welcome to Diamond Secrets Revealed, Discover Color and What You Need to Know. My name is Jennifer Wyszynski. I am a GIA Gemologist, jewelry designer, and appraiser for Rejuvenated Designs. And in this video, we're going to talk about the color of diamonds, which is one of the quality values that you need to know that affects how much you're going to pay and what you should buy for yourself. And since it's such an important and valuable item to purchase, you should be very knowledgeable so you can be more confident while you're shopping for something this valuable. So why is color so important? Well, color in general is so important in everyday life. Most people don't even realize it. Every color around you can affect your mood, affect you psychologically, and even affect your health. Colors like red, which are warm, this increases your energy, it gets your blood going, and helps if you're having a demanding or a hard day. It can also help you fight off a cold or pneumonia by raising that body temperature. The color orange can improve your mood, making you more cheerful and inspire creativity. Yellow can help you fight some of the anxiety that you may experience on a daily basis, or maybe just from time to time with something stressful going on. It also brings clarity as well as happiness. Green is the color of nature, and it's very healing. It helps bring a sense of calm and helps to relax the body, but it also fills you with that energy that you need to for your everyday actions. Blue is a cool color and helps with fevers and heat exhaustion, as well as helping hyperactive children and sleep disorders. Indigo helps purify the bloodstream and helps us mentally. And lastly, violet helps purify thoughts and brings us guidance. So what does all these colors have to do with diamonds? Well, the diamond is the most powerful gemstone of them all because it encompasses all of these rainbow colors. The colorless diamond not only protects and strengthens you, but with its many reflections, amplifies them out, increasing its power to others. Its strength and purity has been prized throughout the centuries, making the diamond with the least amount of color or colorless the most valuable in the colorless range and the most in demand. Diamond does come in every single color of the rainbow naturally, but yellow, brown, and colorless are the most common with its color created by nitrogen clusters that form within the crystal lattice. So while it's growing, these elements may be around and get caught up in that atomic structure and creates a more yellow tint or a brown tint. Or if there's none of these traces, then it can be completely colorless. Black diamonds are created from many impurities and also crystal distortion. And before it became fashionable, it was used for industrial purposes and was actually called bort. The rarer colors are white, gray, pink, blue, which are colored by boron, green, which has natural radiation. So if the skin of the diamond is kept on to the polished gemstone, then you'll see more of that green color because the radiation is typically contained to the natural crystal. Once you polish it off, you could be polishing off that body color of green. Purple is created usually from trace elements as well as crystal distortion. And the most rare and the most valuable is a pure red, absolutely pure red. There's only about 7 or 8 pure red diamonds in the world. And it doesn't matter how big it is, it doesn't matter the clarity, it will costs a lot of money. I read an article a while ago that a half-carat pure red diamond that had a chunk missing from it, so a half-carat's pretty small, and it had a chunk missing from it. It was about $1 million per carat for this half-a-carat diamond, so it was about $500,000 for a tiny little red diamond. So I consider that a lot. But anyway, today we're focusing on the colorless range and GIA's standard grading system for colorless to light yellow or light brown. So how did this grading system come about? In the 1950s, Richard T. Lidicote at GIA developed the standardized system of color grading that gives a letter to each grade in the normal color range. And the grades range from D, which is colorless, all the way down to Z, which is light yellow or light brown. So why start at D, you may ask? That's weird to start at D when our alphabet starts at A, right? So dealers all over the world were already using different letters like A or AA, B, and C. They would use numbers or word descriptions for the color of diamond. So you can imagine that there was a lot of miscommunication and people are not getting what they expected. So to make it universal, Lidicote created this standardized system to make a fresh start, and he began with D and it ran all the way to Z. So anything beyond Z is considered a fancy colored diamond. So D through F are in the colorless range. So those are the highest colors or colorless that you can have when purchasing a stone. G through J are in the near colorless range. K through M are faint yellow or faint brown. N through R are very light, and S through Z are light yellow or light brown. So the lower in letter you go, the less valuable the diamond would be. So like I said, after Z, you get into those fancy colors, and the value for those are the opposite. So the more color or saturated color that you have, the more expensive it would be. So when fancy yellow diamonds came into popularity, some would try and cheat by getting an X, Y, or Z color and calling it a fancy. So X, Y, and Z are actually called a poor man's fancy because you're paying for a lower price per carat, being that it's a low quality color in the colorless range, but it looks like something that's higher value in the fancy color range. So you have to be careful with that, and that's why a grading certificate is so important. Especially with those X, Y, and Zs, they usually set them in 18 karat gold or a higher yellow gold to make it appear like it's one of those fancy stones. So be careful that you're not paying for a poor man's fancy and paying that price of an actual fancy stone. So something like that, you may want to ask for a certificate or a GIA certificate for that, so you know what you're getting. So describing color in gemology is very different than other trades or how you as a customer would describe color. And this again is to keep it standard, because a difference in color can be such a difference in price. So marketers and designers started calling diamonds in the M to T range, champagne, cognac, chocolate. You all heard of those Levian diamonds, those chocolate diamonds, to give it an element of romance for these traditionally low quality diamonds. And again, like I said, that X, Y, and Z was called the poor man's fancy. So they try and hype up these low quality colors so that they can get more money per carat for them, because they weren't considered popular before that. You know, they would just be used for electronics or for polishing or something like that. They wouldn't be used for jewelry. And when it's used for jewelry, you'll get more per carat because it creates something more artistic, or a designer uses it. So you'll be paying more for something that's considered low quality. So in describing a color in gemology, we don't use these romantic names. You first describe the hue, which is the body color. So if it's yellow, if it's brown, if it's gray. Then the tone, which is how light or dark the stone is. And lastly, how saturated or vivid, or the strength of color you have. With diamonds, since most of them are colorless or near colorless, so we're not grading the actual hue, we're not grading that body color. You're grading the tone and the saturation, or the depth of intensity of color. So this takes a lot of practice and understanding of what you're actually looking for. And this can be particularly hard for grayish or included stones, or smaller stones, because if it's very small, it's hard to actually tell what the color is with the untrained eye. So you want to think of a glass of water, which is completely colorless. And then if you drop a droplet of yellow dye, you know how that affects that colorless water. And then you keep dropping yellow dye into it, how that intensity increases. So that's sort of like what you're looking at when you're color grading. So each color grade is a range. So for example, if you have a color graded G, which is in the near colorless range, it may have been very slightly darker than the F color, which would be a high G, or it could be very close to an H, which would be a low G. So it has a very wide range. So there's not just one kind of G. It can be something that's darker than the F, but lighter than the H. When diamonds are graded in a lab, there is more than one person looking at each diamond because it can be so subjective. And due to the fact that humans can't remember exact color, every diamond in a lab is graded against master stones. So master stones are diamonds of known color, and each are round, weighing about 30 to 40 points. And they are the highest color of their range, and they're usually very good or higher cut, and they have very good clarity and no fluorescence to detract from its color. So let's transport ourselves to a diamond grading lab. Picture the lab with very dim to no lights on, so you need a dark environment to properly color grade. The master stones are lined up on a non-reflective white tray in a light box that uses a cool daylight equivalent light bulb of 5,000 kelvins and has no ultraviolet light. So the stone is usually checked for any kind of fluorescence first to make sure that that's not detracting from your color grading opinion, because a strong fluorescence might influence that color grade. Then you place your stone table down. So it will be a loose stone, but I have this large stone as my example. So table down, you put it flat on that tray, and then you raise the tray up to your eye level and look through the pavilion or the bottom of the stone. And if your stone is darker on the right of the master, let's say we start with an E master, and darker on the left of the master, let's say F, then you keep going down the line until it's lighter to the left of the master that you're checking it against. So then the master will be very slightly darker. So say you move down to the eye master and it's lighter on the left side, then it will be an H color. So you keep moving it down until it's darker than the one on the left and lighter than the one on the right. So that means it's that color. So color grading is the most precise when it is loose. And of course it is accompanied, and of course when it's accompanied with a certificate from a lab that has unbiased grading. So they're not affected by the result of the grade, whether it's a good grade or a bad grade. They don't really care, they just grade it and move on. So if you're trying to choose a diamond for an engagement ring, which do you choose? Well, I would really recommend looking at a few diamonds loose. Ask if you can look at 2 to 3 side by side, first table down, so upside down, and then your final judgment should be face up. So looking at it from the top, because that is how you and everyone else in the world will see your diamond, because you don't wear your diamond upside down, right? So the most popular are G to H colors. D to F will look colorless face up, with D being the whitest and most colorless. G through J will still look colorless face up. So those are colors that you can really consider if you're on a budget. But J you'll start to see a little bit of tint of color, especially if you put it next to whiter stones. K through Z, you'll see obviously more color face up. You'll start to see that tint of yellow or tint of brown, whichever color it is. So since color is something that you see first, well, you see size and you also see color first, I consider it more important than clarity, which with most stones you need a loupe for. So since color is something that you see with your naked eye, then I consider it something that's pretty important when choosing a diamond. So if your budget allows for a D or an E color, then of course those would be best. But if you want to save and still have a white look, then I wouldn't go lower than an I color. If you do choose to go for an I or J color, ask to see them side by side and choose the one that is the lightest of them, because remember, color is a range. So you could get a high J that looks like an I, and that would be really ideal. Also ask if you can see the diamonds outside in the sunlight or daylight equivalent. That is where you'll be seeing the diamonds mostly. So nobody has those fancy jewelry lights following them around, you know, creating those crazy sparkles. So if you take it outside and you look at it in natural sunlight where you'll actually be seeing your diamond or your ring, then you can get a good judgment of the color that it will look every day. So most diamonds that you'll see will be mounted, and the color of the mounting can really affect the color of a diamond. So diamonds that are set in yellow gold or rose gold will have those colors reflected into the stone, and colorless stones could look like they have more of a tint to them than it actually does. But if you set a warmer stone or something that's slightly yellower or browner into a yellow mounting, then it will actually look a little bit better, because the yellow mounting will absorb some of that color. So you want to, so when it's set in white, white stones will look whiter and yellow stones will stand out more and be more obvious. So keep that in mind when choosing a setting. This is why when a jeweler or appraiser grades a mounted stone, they usually give it a color range. So you can't really get exactly the color when it's mounted, especially if the bottom of the stone is covered, because remember, you look through the bottom to get that color of the diamond, to color grade that diamond. So an appraiser has to give it a range. They'll probably say like G through H, or maybe G through I, something like that, because they're not exactly sure, you know, how white or how yellow that stone is. So when shopping for diamonds that are already mounted, just keep in mind that metal, the metal it's set in, the color of the metal that it's set in. Then look and see if you as the consumer can see any kind of tint of color. And if you can see it, then it is probably obvious and a low color grade. So make sure that they look clear and white and have life or sparkle to them. That is why you buy diamonds in the first place, right? For their beauty, for their sparkle. And when you wear them, you want them to sparkle and be beautiful as well, right? So if you have any questions or need help with diamonds in any way, feel free to contact me, and it would be my pleasure to help you. And like I said before, we're gonna continue on with this diamond series. So be sure to watch all of them so you can have all the facts and be able to grade a diamond like a pro and be more knowledgeable and more comfortable and confident when you're in a store purchasing for yourself. Talk to you soon. Bye.